Hi everyone, I'm really excited to tell you that I got an offer from a big tech company, Meta. I learned a lot during this journey, and in this video I want to share with you some tips that help me to survive and prepare for all my FAANG interviews. Let's get started. My name is Pete, and this is FAANG Tips. The first tip is to find the optimal time for studying. Sounds obvious, but let me explain that. Finding the right time could be complicated. For example, I have kids and my time with them is not negotiable. So I had to try different times during the day until getting my optimal. For some people it could be at night, but in my case it was pretty early in the night, when everything is quiet and nobody requires my attention. Once you got the time, you need to work every day. It doesn't matter the amount of hours you have for studying or the number of algorithms you solved that day. Of course, if you got 3 or more hours for studying and you can solve more algorithms, that's great. But don't underestimate a few minutes of constant work every day. The goal is to be at least 1% better than yesterday. The second tip that helped me was doing mock interviews. Normally, the FAANG interviews are composed of 3 types of interviews: coding interviews, system design interviews when you need to solve a problem designing the infrastructure of your application, and a behavioral interview when you talk about your previous project and some conflicts you got in your career. All of them require a lot of preparation. And by the way, I will share with you in the description below all the tools and resources I use for my preparation. You can study by yourself, but one very effective way to master the interview art is doing mock interviews with your friends and colleagues. Sounds piece of cake, but once you start the first mock interview, you will suffer a lot. But that's the point. It's not the same thinking that you know how to solve a problem or a question alone in your room than with someone else watching you and asking you questions and judging you. It's a totally different experience. If you do a mock interview and you feel awkward, that's a great signal of moving forward. If you dominate the pressure of a mock interview, that will give you a lot of experience and confidence for your real interviews. And speaking of the actual interview, the third tip for you is to see your interviewer as a friend or colleague, not your enemy. Most people put super defensive, thinking that the other person, the interviewer, will attack you. But that position will only destroy your interview. Instead, think that the interviewer could be your future teammate. Be professional and talk with him or her like if you were already in that team. Of course, you need to guide the conversation, the interview, but the point is to guide the interviewer through your thinking process. Think louder. Speak everything that is in your mind. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you need them to understand the problem. Never try to code or design anything you don't understand. Some people think that asking questions is a way to reduce your options to pass the interview. It's totally opposite. Of course, it will depend on what kind of question you ask. If you want the solution, of course not. That's not the goal. But if you need pieces or kind of hints or any proposals, you could have 2 or more ways to solve a problem. You could ask your interviewer, what do you think about this? What do you think about this proposal? That's the idea of asking questions. Don't be afraid. I use that a lot during my interviews, especially in the system design interviews, and that helped me a lot, especially to reduce the feeling, the pressure of not getting the whole context, the whole picture of what I need to solve. The worst situation is leaving the whiteboard or the editor blank just because you didn't want to ask questions. Questions are a powerful tool. Lastly, I want to share a big mistake I did during my preparation. Let me explain. A friend also started applying for big tech companies at the same time like me. He did an intensive preparation, working 3 or more hours every day, solving a lot of coding problems. And 3 months later, he got an offer from a big tech. I thought, nice, more or less that will be the amount of time I would require to get an offer too. It turns out that in my case, I took 2 years until getting an offer from a big tech. And of course, a lot of failed interviews during that time. I have many questions in my mind. Why I couldn't make it like my friend? Am I a worse developer than my friend? Those were valid questions in my head, but that's absolutely insane doing that comparison. In the process of getting offers from those companies could happen a lot of things. There are many factors involved in your success. It's absolutely stupid to compare yourself against other person. This is my final tip. Be patient and compare only against yourself. We are humans, and humans make mistakes. Every person has a different skills that make us unique. Again, you need to be 1% better than yourself yesterday. That's the only valid metric for you. Do you know what is the worst case scenario of failing interviews in a big tech company? That you will get a huge boost in your coding skills. You will have already a speech of how many projects you have been working and what kind of conflicts you got. And you will have a better perspective of how to build the infrastructure of an application. You will also increase the options to get success in other companies outside of FAANGs. And if you apply for the same big tech again, I can guarantee you that you will be closer to get a success this time. In short, you will become a better developer. Fun fact, Swift and Tips born thanks to all this preparation. Don't give up regardless of your situation. It's just a matter of time to get that job you are looking for. I wish you the best of luck in your next interviews. If you have more questions about FAANG interviews, please leave them in the comments down below, and also in my Twitter account, Swift and Tips. That's all for me, everyone. Thank you so much and have a great day.